Good evening. Our guest speaker tonight is Colonel Collins. Colonel Collins is a native of North Carolina who graduated from the Citadel in 1953. He was commissioned into the United States Air Force and immediately reported for pilot training. He flew jet fighters for the next 2 years and then reported as an air training officer to the just opening United States Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs. Following several other Air Force assignments, Colonel Collins then reported for combat in Southeast Asia, flying F-105s, where he was shot down over North Korea in September 1965 and was released in February 1973. Colonel Collins is a highly decorated Air Force combat veteran and has been awarded 2 Silver Stars, 2 Purple Hearts, and 2 Air Medals, along with a myriad of other military decorations. He is one of our most distinguished alumni and is a past president of the Citadel Alumni Association. Colonel Collins retired from the Air Force in 1974 and since then has been involved in several successful business ventures. He is currently in the commercial real estate business in Charlotte, North Carolina, and has been actively engaged in many community and civic organizations which have recognized his talents over the years through numerous awards. He is in the process of retiring and intends to write his memoirs. His wife of 32 years, Catherine, is with us tonight, and between them, they have 6 adult children and 12 grandchildren. Colonel Collins represents the best in the Citadel graduate who has served with honor, undergone a difficult captivity, and has survived to lead an exemplary life. He is a Citadel hero who deserves our undivided attention. Please welcome Colonel Collins and Mrs. Quincy Collins, Citadel class of 1953, to our senior dinner.
Thank you. Good to see you. Wow, what a rowdy damn bunch you are. I can't tell you how happy I am to be here tonight. At 81, I can't tell you how happy I am to be anywhere tonight. You see the corral back here, and what they're going to do is to sing a song that I wrote in prison. It's called the POW Hymn. I just felt particularly during a couple of years in isolation that we POWs needed something to say how we felt about things in sort of a religious nature. And so, if you will, thank you very much, gentlemen.
Silver wings
Wow, that was my first venture into Hollywood. After writing that and coming back home, I was on To Tell the Truth. Is that the one that I was? To Tell the Truth. And they opened the show with a recording that I had of my POW choir. Yeah, I had a POW choir in prison. And in May of 1973, Nixon had us at the White House, and they wanted my group to sing this, and we did. And they recorded it. And so I gave To Tell the Truth a copy, and they played that thing, for the next 10 years. And I had just joined the, SPPA, whatever that union is. Anyhow, I got about $8,000 out of that thing. I found me an island that was really warm and hot and all that good stuff, and the money was well spent. Thank you. Let's give them a hand again, please. When I said that I was really appreciative of being here, I really mean that. I mean, it's a pain in the rear to get ready to speak to any group. But to a group like you, it is especially painful. But at any rate, I look forward to it, and I put my thoughts down on paper because I wanted to be sure that I got across to you the things that I wanted you to remember. Now, those of you who sort of have your back, be sure you're back around so you can see me, because I want to look at you right in the eye. Shuffle around just a little bit so you can see me. This evening is your first step in joining the Long Gray Line. You've heard about it. You may have read about it. But you have not yet become a part of it. This year, that line is 170 years old. And it stretches from Charleston to every part of the globe. So savor it and remember it, because you are about to join a very elite group of principled leaders. The fact that you are about to have this ring in your possession does not mean that you are already a graduate and thereby receive all the honors and recognition due to graduates of the Citadel. You still have a way to go, but it is important. No, let me stop. It is critical that you do not slack up in any phase of your academic or cadet life. In fact, you really need to buckle down even more in order to get out of here in a blaze of glory. Don't just make it by the skin of your teeth. Show an increase in your learning and performance curve right up until you walk across that stage with your diploma in your hand. That's the way to end your tour at this institution of higher learning. And if you don't think that's true or worthwhile, some of you are sort of looking around saying, he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. But the only thing that you have to show for the years you've spent here is what's on a couple of pieces of paper that shows what your grade point ratio was, what you did here, and what your activities were. So don't stop. That's the point. Your Citadel ring is a gold medal scroll with a lot of history and tradition. It's also your personal ID for your future. On the crown is your graduation year. Mine shows 53. On one side is the Star of the West, involving cadets in 1861, when they fired on a Union ship and the war between the states began. Every part of the ring's surface shows history and tradition of the Cadet Corps from 1842 to current times. Leadership, courage, integrity are represented by the sword. The rifle crossing it illustrates that freedom must sometimes be fought for, requiring toughness to obtain victory blessed by peace. The laurel wreath speaks to that. And on the opposite side of our ring are the colors of our nation and the state of South Carolina, unified forever. The old citadel, the state tree, and the South Carolina state seals are represented by the cannonballs and palmetto, which also have a connection to repelling the British fleet during the Revolutionary War. Needless to say, our ring has a lot to say about our history. So when you do get it tomorrow, wear it well. Wear it with pride and honor its meaning. Do you know how to tell if the world's greatest fighter pilot is in the same room with you? Just listen, he'll tell you. I should say, I'll tell you. But man, being shot down was really embarrassing to me. Well, couple that with the fact that a Citadel grad's ring arm hangs like an orangutan's arm with a 50-pound weight on it. You get the idea? This is the heaviest all-gold ring in the world. But best of all, that ring makes you aware that you have something no one else has. A Citadel ring. And your swagger comes to life. Even at my age, I got it, see? And like James Cagney, you walk like no everybody in the room, you know. At least that's how I see it. I was always told that our ring was the heaviest all-gold ring in the college and university system. Now, that made me feel even more special, especially when I was around other grads from West Point, Annapolis, and the Air Force Academy. Those guys were hired to get an education. Damn, my family paid for me to take this crap. And man, am I glad I did. Coming to the Citadel saved my life. If for no other reason than to learn how to survive on my own terms. The fourth class system, the disciplinary regimen, the isolation from people who did things in a normal way, like universities and colleges. And finally, you had to learn how to be in total control of your emotions. Not doing so would be disastrous, and you would stand out like a naked guy at a nuns' convention. I see some of you know how that feels. On September the 2nd, 1965, I trotted out to my trusty F-105 at Tok Lee, Thailand, for my third mission of that day. I had just been appointed to the wing weapons officer. I'd been appointed to wing weapons officer, and my job was to plan and develop the very best training program possible for our combat crews, both in nuclear and in conventional and air-to-air, and also air-to-ground operations. I had left my family at Yokota Air Base right outside Tokyo and come down TDY to get as much experience as I could in the mission that we had in Southeast Asia, primarily dropping bombs, rockets, selected targets, and providing air coverage against enemy aircraft trying to sneak in and hit our bombers. And this was my 13th mission. And we were a flight of 4. No reported flak that day on this bridge target we had. And that was music to my ears. So as the song says, off we go, heading to a remote spot between Laos and North Vietnam. It was a beautiful day, sort of like today, with no cloud formations. As I hit my afterburner on the runway to get rolling, I was aware of my ring because my glove fit so tight that it was like a surgical glove, tight but comfortable. And this fighting machine was ready to go. About 40 minutes later, I saw the target. Not like it had been described, but like new construction had unveiled a fresh and vibrant ground, like bulldozers had moved a lot of dirt. What the hell was that all about? Just as I rolled in on my target, my world came apart. Bam! Bam! And every instrument in the cockpit showed that everything that could go wrong was going wrong. Fire and smoke in the cockpit, and I felt another explosion. I wasn't sure if I was hit again by anti-aircraft fire or if my own bombs were going off. I couldn't tell if I was right side up or inside out. So I gave myself an order that was tough for any fighter pilot to take. Get the hell out of here. I reached for the ejection handles. That was it. I don't know if I got them or if the aircraft blew up. I do know one thing. I had to have been doing over 700 knots when I hit the airstream because my body later looked like I had been dumped into a cement mixer and dropped from Mount Everest. When I opened my eyes, I was leaning against a tree with nothing on but my shorts. Across from me were 4 ancient mariners, old militiamen protecting their part of North Vietnam. I saw no parachute, no ejection seat, no flight suit, no boots, no pistol or survival mat. God, I was just about naked in the jungles of Laos in North Vietnam, and I was alone. No rescue aircraft were circling. No choppers hovering close by to rescue me. So I took stock of myself. I had 2 arms, but I could only see one leg. Damn, my left leg was bent grotesquely out to the left, and I could clearly see it was broken above the knee. And J.Q. Collins, the world's greatest fighter pilot, wasn't going anywhere. I guess every nerve ending in my body was on alert because I hurt. God, did I hurt. And I only had my mind to throw up against it. I looked down again at my right arm and hand, and it was gone. One of those old bastards had my ring and my watch, and they were gone forever. Several years later, one of my new POW friends, shot down just like I was, told me that he had carried a small Bible with him on every mission. It had belonged to his dad, who was an Army platoon commander in World War II. And this Word of God had a hole in it made by a bullet aimed at his dad. The Bible stopped it and kept his father from being wounded. Our enemy took that Bible just like they took my ring. At our release in 1973, they returned that Bible to him. I guess the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Amen. They did not return my ring. The first 5 years I spent there were a lot of isolation. I needed a lot of help since the operation they performed on me made me dependent on someone else to help feed me, wash me when allowed, and just take care of my normal body functions. My recovery was slow and painful, and every day was a battle against medical incompetence and just plain hate for Americans by the enemy. When I finally graduated to crutches, they moved me into a small cell. I was alone again. I could take 3 crutch steps from the back wall to the front wall, and a slab of concrete that I lovingly call my beauty rest bed took up the rest of the cell. At the foot of my concrete bed was a pair of leg irons and chains with a small porthole in the wall so that the guards could lock your ankles in without having to come into your cell. All the modern conveniences. And a bare light bulb hung down from the ceiling. It burned 24 hours a day. At night, when they tucked us in for the evening, they handcuffed your wrists behind your back and snapped your leg irons on. You prayed that you would suddenly turn into a contortionist, but no such luck. During the day, I often looked at my ring finger and wondered what Vietnamese soldier had it, and what story had he concocted to explain how he got it. I visualized many times that in becoming a casualty of the war, that some schmuck probably made himself out to be a hero, and he had my ring to prove it. War is hell and no fun to endure. And I would look up and say, will I ever get out of this damn cesspool? The camp rules stated no talking above a whisper if you happen to have a cellmate. And there was to be no communication with other black tyrannical airmen, the formal name given to those of us who were guests at the infamous Hanoi Hilton. One thing I learned, you must communicate in order for leadership and the chain of command to function and be successful, and for anyone to survive. Communication, guys, communication. The punishment was too severe to get caught yelling under your door to your fellow prisoners. So what could we do? Several POWs had been taught a tap code used in American prisons, so they passed it on to the rest of us. Now, how they did that is one heck of an interesting and creative story. But basically, you put the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 across the top of a square, imaginary or otherwise. And you put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down the left side. A, B, C, D, E are the letters at the top. And in the second horizontal line is F, G, H, I, J, and so on. You treat K and C as if it's the same letter. Some of you are wondering, how do you do this with 26 letters? Well, K and C makes it 25. Now you've got a square. So that you end up with 25 letters. When you tap, the first tap or taps indicates which horizontal line you are on. The second tap or taps shows which letter in that line you are transmitting. For example, here's a tap sequence. Bump, silence. Bump, bump, bump. The first bump means you're in the top horizontal line. The 3 bumps following indicate it is the third letter in that line. A, B, C, bump, bump, bump. And so on. Here's another example. Every morning when they awakened us, I had 3 walls to bang on. Here's what I sent. Second horizontal line, third letter in that line, H. Followed by, still the second line, fourth letter, I, H-I, high. This meant a lot of things like, glad you're alive. I'm over here. We're in this thing together. In other words, it was just saying, hi, good morning, we're together in this thing. When we started using this code, it sounded as though monster termites were at work in the buildings. The guards caught on and whitewashed our walls and then would check our knuckles to see if we were tapping. So we started using our rubber tire foot sandals to tap. We really became innovative and had the confidence that there was no way this dumbass enemy could keep us from communicating. This was a victory for the good guys. The longer I stared at the walls and floor and ceiling, the more I feared the future. It is the unknown that makes you tremble. If you had knowledge of what's coming, at least you can prepare for it. But here I am in a situation where I have no control over anything. I can't even control my bowels. Dysentery was my biggest motivator. And I had that stuff for the first 3 years that I was in prison. Uncomfortable? Yes. Always with me? Yes. And the worst part? The stench. And the longer it fermented in your bucket called a bow, the worse it became. Eating their lousy food that they gave us became a system of in it goes and out it comes. What a way to lose weight. And I went down to about 122 pounds. Now you say, how does that bald-headed colonel know that he was about 122 pounds? Well, I'm going to tell you. There was a cistern in the courtyard, sort of like a big horse trough filled with water. A faucet on the cistern provided the water. We had what looked like pea pots that we would dip in, get the water, and pour it over, and that's how we bathed. Some guys managed to estimate the weight of a pot full of water. So when we wanted to weigh somebody, he scrubbed down good, washed off completely, then we turned on the water to fill the tub up to the top. The guy climbs into the tub and water displaces to the tune of how much he weighs. We then filled up the pool by counting how many pot loads it took to fill the trough back up to the top. And then we multiplied that number times how much each pot weighed. And voila, we had his weight. The old Greek Archimedes principle of specific gravity worked even in prison. Back to the unknown. I became convinced that if a person wanted to live, he or she could be made to do anything. But if that person lost control of his or her faculties and lost the element of judgment, they could die or be badly maimed by a torturer. My idea must have made sense to our senior officers as they issued specific instructions regarding torture. It went something like this. If the enemy wants you to do something you know you shouldn't do, resist or try a song and dance routine to get out of it. If that doesn't work, then you will probably be faced with some type of pain-inducing technique to force you to give in. Our instructions were to hang in there as long as we could, but plan on trying to stop their actions before we lost control and didn't know what we were doing, and end up giving the enemy what he wants, plus injuring yourself, perhaps permanently. On paper, this probably looks easy enough, but it is tough, guys. It's tough as hell, and it tries your willpower and your entire body to the limit. Remember, we all took an oath when we joined the U.S. military. Regarding being a POW, it went something like this. I am an American fighting man, and if I am captured, I will only give my name, rank, serial number, and date of birth. The very first question the enemy asked me was, "What's your blood type?" I started to reply, "You dumbass, that's not the right question." Of course, I didn't say that, and I gave them my blood type. I didn't know it then, but I had 7.5 years ahead of me, and they hadn't gotten to the good questions yet. Well, our senior officers had the right idea. Find out what's in front of you. Do what you can to lessen the impact of information you might have to provide them, and then get them off your back and come out in the next round to win. Did the enemy ever break any of us? Sure. They had to work like hell for what little they did get from us. Our motto was to return home with honor. To return home with honor. Under the superior leadership of our senior officers, we accomplished this and were able to look every American citizen in the eye and say, "I did my very best. God bless America." Yeah, the Citadel saved my life because it gave me the mettle to survive. It gave me the tools I needed to overcome adversity and to always see the light at the end of a dark, dark tunnel. Inside my ring is this quote, a gift of the Citadel, May 27, 1973. Yeah, my great alma mater replaced my ring, but it did so much more in the process by preparing me for life. Now I've taken my place in the long gray line with honor and humility and service to my country and to my fellow man. May each of you seek to do the same and make your days worthwhile in the sight of God. This ring means you are ready. And I salute you.